I do want to talk specifically about the Special Court of Assize in Paris, which I attended in April of last year. Um, and as Hassan noted, it's a special court, and that essentially is that it deals with terrorism cases. So the rules are different there. As was already noted, the trial came in the wake of an appeal by the French prosecutor, which overturned Hassan's 2018 exoneration. In France, by the way, overturning a decision by the highly respected anti-terrorism section is unheard of. I have to say the declaration by the Special Court of Assize that Hassan is guilty was essentially nonsensical for reasons that Hassan was articulating, and I will repeat some of those points, especially if you had trouble hearing his audio. It is worth noting also that Hassan's case was the primary inspiration for a Canadian parliamentary committee, the Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights, to issue a report last year calling for extensive reforms to Canada's extradition law. So here is sort of a list of some of the ways in which the trial that took place in Paris last year was unfair. So the trial was conducted in absentia. Canada does not permit in absentia trials and therefore should not accept the results of such a trial in France. A trial in absentia also means that Hassan is afforded no appeal in France. Secondly, there is no documentary record of the trial proceedings. There is no transcript, no recording. This means there is no accurate record of what happened in the court that could be used by Hassan's defense at an extradition hearing or at any other subsequent proceeding. Thirdly, all the forensic evidence, multiple fingerprint and a palm print, exclude Hassan. There is no forensic evidence to support a finding of guilt. Indeed, as I think you may have heard Hassan say, the court simply invented theories out of thin air to explain away the lack of forensic evidence. For example, they claimed someone who signed a statement in, a police station was not allowed to touch the paper they were signing. Never heard such a thing. Fourthly, the court ignored all alibi evidence showing that Hassan was in Lebanon taking his university exams at the time of the attack, despite the fact that there were university documents and eyewitness testimonies confirming this. Fifth, French journalists who were not witnesses to any of the relevant events were called to give their so-called expert opinions of guilt at the trial. Some of these journalists, like the one who visited Hassan in his classroom way back in 2007, are known to work hand in glove with the French intelligence services. Number six, the court relied heavily on unsourced, anonymous, and contradictory intelligence that may be the product of torture. This is fundamentally unfair and is inadmissible in Canada. Seventh, some witnesses who made ridiculous statements, such as that Hassan swam from Cyprus to Greece, had their testimony accepted at face value. Eight, the prosecution attributed additional superhuman powers to Hassan, claiming that he studied for his exams in Beirut, flew to Paris to plant a bomb, and then flew back to Beirut just in time to take and pass his exams. There is absolutely no evidence for this scenario, which also contradicts the prosecution's claims working theory, which assumes that the bomber spent weeks in Europe preparing the attack. In other words, they can't keep their story internally consistent. Number nine, it is important to note that the two investigative judges who spent years investigating the case actually testified at the trial and held firm to their decision to exonerate Hassan. Nevertheless, the court ignored the testimony of these experienced judges. Lastly, the judges of the Special Court of Assize relied on a bizarre feature of the French criminal law known as intime conviction, whereby a judge can rely on their deep personal belief to render a verdict, even in the absence of supporting evidence. And that summarizes my remarks, which essentially show that the court was a sham trial that wrongfully declared Hassan guilty.